Welcome back to the $2 Film Club. Today we are talking about I don't know how it's technically a remake, but yeah, we're talking about the Toxic Avenger from 2025, starring Peter Dinklage, also directed by Macone Blair. I hope I'm saying that name right. But he's got a new movie coming out that I know we mentioned it, and I don't remember what it is again. Idiots.
Yeah.
Idiots. Yeah, that's a new comedy movie that's coming out. But yeah, if you weren't aware, we have talked about the Toxic Avenger before. We talked about the 1984 original film from Troma. That episode is up, so if you have not checked it out, go ahead and take a look at that one. Yeah, obviously the Toxic Avenger franchise, let's say, is an interesting one. I wouldn't necessarily say it's meant to be taken seriously, but this movie would. This movie didn't get that message to say. But yeah, I have never seen this movie before. But I know you did
Yeah, I
before.
watched it like a year ago or something, and
Yeah, because that's when it came out, I think.
yeah, but like it wasn't in like a theatrical sense. I think they did like a 1 day theater thing with
Mm.
like fandom or like whatever those like small theater event things are for like the 1 day things.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure this movie had like a pretty long production struggle before they even got anyone who was in this. Um, and so I think by the time it rolled around, I don't I don't know if they didn't have any money left for like shit, like marketing or anything, because I don't remember like ever seeing anything outside of a trailer and poster being released like a year and a half to 2 years before it actually released. And it felt like one of those things I always kept hearing about
Yeah,
and
Sam.
knowing who was in it, but never truly saw anything. And it felt like one of those mysterious movies for a while. So for me, like, this film was one of those, like, it was almost like a phenomenon to me where it was a remake of a classic film that I kind of hold dear to my heart because of just how ridiculously stupid it is for all of the wrong and insane reasons that this movie doesn't feel like it definitely doesn't want to replicate it, because I don't think you could replicate anything that movie does nowadays, which leads me on to why even bother trying to do it. But then seeing what they were trying to make the Toxic Avenger into with like this PG-13 cartoon character, and then we just found out that there's a video game coming out this year where it's like a side scroller old arcade game almost, and non very bloody violent, which it feels very weird. And after seeing this movie, it all kind of makes sense because it doesn't really seem they know what they want to do with the Toxic Avenger character slash IP, because this doesn't even feel like anything from the last two. And when I say last two, I mean like the first rendition of the character and then like the animated version from like the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, whenever it was.
What, the Toxic Crusaders thing?
Yeah, the Toxic
Yeah, that was in the
Crusaders.
90s. It was the
Yeah,
early
in the
90s.
90s. So like this feels very different from those two. Like I've seen like clips and stuff of the Toxic Crusaders show, but I've never like watched a full episode. But this Toxic Avenger, and not because it's played by Peter Dinklage, feels very different from a tonal perspective than the other two. And it feels like it's trying to balance the R and PG-13, and I think it fails significantly.
Yeah, I mean, I remember hearing about this movie. I wasn't familiar with who the Toxic Avenger was. So when I first heard about it, I heard about it because I think then there was like a first look image of Elijah Wood in it. Um, and I was like, oh, I don't know what this is. So I looked it up, and it said it was like, oh, I was gonna start Peter Dinklage, and I kind of got like the basic plot summary or whatever. Um, and I was like, oh, that sounds kind of interesting, but I didn't know that it was a remake. I just assumed that it was
A new property.
I assumed it was like an indie, um, sort of like parody of superhero movies of like Marvel or DC or whatever, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that sounds about right. And then there was one like teaser that was kind of like um, I think it showed like some of the stuff from the diner, and
That's
then
all I remember the
and then it
trailers
took like
being.
2 years for us to get like an official release date or whatever. Um, and then obviously at that point I realized that it was a remake. But I don't know. It was so weird. I was just like, I had kind of forgotten about it, and I was just like, oh, we're actually gonna get this now. I definitely think they struggled to find like distribution, and I think that goes back to your point where you said that I don't think it really got like a full like theatrical run. I think it was in theaters for like a week or so in like the United States and the UK, and then they dropped it on digital, which I don't know. It was so odd to me that that was the way they decided to do it. Oh well, maybe not so much after seeing the movie, but
I mean, it's odd in the perspective because of how many big name stars I feel are in this.
oh yeah, you mean like Kevin Bacon and
Peter Dinklage,
yeah,
like
Elijah
Elijah
Wood. Elijah Wood
Wood,
is like barely in the movie too. I
and
thought that
yeah,
that was kind of annoying to me. I was like, okay,
Jacob Tremblay too. I know she's not big, but she was just in It Welcome to Derry, but Taylor Page, she played the
oh,
wife.
that's shit. I could have. I the whole time I was watching this movie, I was like, where have I seen this girl from?
I've seen Johnny Coyne, who's like the mob boss, the Thad
Yeah,
character.
I've seen him in some stuff.
He's that guy that I've seen in like so many different projects, but I've never known his name. But like this is like a lineup of name actors that a lot of this just feels weird to me, and it's between the release schedule, the release date, how it's released, who's in this, the film it's trying to remake, but the film it's also trying to be at the same time, because like I I don't know where to start off with this, just because I appreciate so much what that original Toxic Avenger movie did back in the 80s, because it felt so like one of those trashy B trauma movies out of nowhere that kind of just like hit this cult status, because there were so many different under messages between classism, environmentalism, how we view people and interact with each other on a daily basis. Like, you know what movie I would compare the Toxic Avenger to? I don't know if you've ever seen it, but Beau's Afraid.
No, I've never seen it.
So
I've heard of it, but
in Beau's Afraid, it feels like the main characters in this amorphous or eccentric world where everyone doesn't feel like they fit into the same world, where the main character's walking down the sidewalk and then a hate crime's going on, but at the same time two people are having sex like on the other side in the phone booth, all the while like the main character is getting bullied because he's kind of weird. You know,
mm,
shit like that, where you're like, how is any of this really making sense right now in this world? And it's not supposed to, but everyone's a piece of shit at the same time. In this world, it doesn't really feel like that. It feels like there's one side, but then there's another. The movie very carefully chooses who they want the audience to associate themselves with.
yeah,
Because in that original, there's no reason for you to like Melvin. They don't give you, oh, he's dying because of cancer. He's this stepfather who has to become a real father now because his wife, who isn't his wife, died tragically out of nowhere. Like, there's so much of the backstory in this new one that isn't in the original that I don't think is needed for us to connect with the Melvin character of this movie. You
yeah.
know? Meanwhile, they try to make him like this that socially awkward character, and I just don't think a lot of it works because they're trying to do so many different things with this one person.
Yeah. I mean, I think the main thing for me was just how, for me, the movie is at odds with itself pretty much the whole time, because on the one side you've got like the trauma Toxic Avenger, like, hyper violence and crude jokes and yada yada yada. But then also at the same time, like, the core of the story is like this. They're trying to make it super heartfelt between him and his son. And I'm not saying that that can't work. It doesn't in the movie. And I don't know. It felt really weird to me because it's not. None of it's really tied to like the stuff that's like largely going on in the story. And also, like, it gets to the point where it just feels like we're constantly like switching back and forth, and so neither plot point gets really any development. And I don't know, it just kind of left me wanting more. Like, I didn't really care much for his relationship with his kid, and then at the same time I also didn't really care much about like the conflict between him and the corporation that he works for. I don't remember their name. It was like,
ETB, EBT, something like
I
that.
don't know, what was it, like
Some stupid ass
BLT or
acronym.
something?
Yeah, it sounded to me, bro. I thought it was BLT for a while.
BTH.
Yeah, BTH.
Yeah,
I'm like, dude, it sounds like a sandwich.
it does.
And I don't know if that's intentional or not because it's still not funny. I just think it's funny that I think it sounds like a sandwich.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this movie's kind of all over the place, and I didn't give the first one a high review, but
I mean, you can at least appreciate what that movie was trying to do for the time like
I
it was
think, well, I
released.
think regardless of like the randomness that goes on in that movie, it's still somehow more cohesive in that, you know,
The message is better in that first one,
yeah,
bro.
the message is definitely better, but also like the way that his mutation, let's say, works,
So much
and like
cooler.
he's how was it worded in the movie? Like
I know I remember
he's
you
like
saying they worded it
he
weird.
senses like crime essentially. Like, he can sense when someone's done crime, and that like sends him into a rage because of, I guess, what was done to him or whatever. And throughout the whole movie, like, that never, like, it to me, it never felt like Winston Winston Goose is his name. It never felt like he had much of any real motivation to like want to fight anyone, but then the movie like is constantly having him do that. I don't know. I just felt like it made more sense in the original why he was like fighting crime or whatever. Oh, shit.
Well, I don't think it helps by the new stuff that they put in to give Wade or Winston, no, not Wade,
Winston.
Winston, yeah, sorry, Winston. I confuse him and the stepson because of the W's. But Winston in this movie, they try to give him more depth by giving him this like traumatic backstory before the movie starts
Yeah.
with the stepson that isn't his stepson. But like a lot of it feels just such generic filler and stuff that I've seen in every other movie about big pharma fucking someone over. Dude, I mean this when I tell you this. Saw 6 did a better job at this type of story than this movie. And the thing to go back to that original is I still think environmentalism, the foundation of what that original movie was, still is more prevalent than the big pharma story that it fails to do, because I feel like big pharma you see as the villain in so many different movies that isn't just like an anti-hero going after big pharma because they hurt themselves or a loved one. You know what I mean? That's multiple characters in this type of movie. I think it would have been interesting to, I know it wasn't directly like, you know, an environmentalist company he's going after until later into the movie, but I think they could have used that in a better way to make Melvin, or the Winston character, the Melvin character in this movie, his story could connect better, because I just thought it was really weak narratively to make him just like some janitor, and I'm like, he's just gonna go to the CEO and start begging to him, and I'm like, and then he hears him wanting to fuck his wife from behind the door and calling him a loser. Like, this is like so Like, I understand why ChatGPT is getting a job over certain writers. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
it feels very by the numbers. It's like I've seen this
Not
movie
even by the numbers.
countless
It
times
feels weaker than
before.
that.
I don't know. It's just it. Like I understand that the original is stupid, but it was kind of like a fun stupid, and this is just more of like a boring stupid.
But
I don't know
it
if
was
that
a
makes
fun
sense.
stupid with a meaning. Because I found once Melvin in the original, you start to connect with him because everyone just kind of bullies him for no reason. And
Yeah.
then he turns into this horrific creature, but you see him kind of grow as a person,
No,
like
yeah.
no pun intended, like since he actually grows in that movie. In this, it doesn't really feel like it. For me, it
He
feels
doesn't grow.
like,
He doesn't grow physically in this movie either.
well,
So
no, yeah, he doesn't grow physically in this movie either, but talking about his relationship with Wade, but played by Jacob Tremblay in this movie, it always felt like they were just kind of one conversation away from figuring out a lot of their issues. It never felt like to me the events of this movie is what got Winston over that barrier he had with Wade,
mm,
because it never, I don't know, I really struggled to connect with their relationship. I like the ending a little bit where, what was it, I think it's when he's like, you are my father. Like, I thought that moment was actually kind of genuine. I thought they had a good
I
relationship
mean
moment
that's the
there.
only
But
thing that
no, that's what I'm
the
saying, that's the
movie
only
like
good one.
shoves down our throats is that he refuses to call him dad or whatever, and like they bring it up a lot that he's not actually his stepfather. But I mean, I don't know. Again, yeah, I think that's just the only thing that we have to latch on in the ending because we don't care about anything else that's going on. Like I didn't care about the relationship between. I don't remember these fuckers' names. Who's Kevin Bacon's character? Bob, and his and his
No,
and his brother and his brother who's played by Elijah Wood Fritz.
which
Like,
by the way makes no sense looking at them. Like, bro, why does Fritz look like the fucking hunchback
and it doesn't
in.
explain it either. It never explains why
Well,
he looks like that.
that's like part of my issue with this film too, is like it kind of just is weird without explanation, but not in the same weird that the original movie's in. Like, this just has weird characters and like animals doing things in this movie that
Yeah.
really just genuinely don't make sense. In the original, it wasn't like that. It was more people in a grounded world acting anormal, like out of this reality. Everyone was just an asshole, sex deprived lunatic, you know, and like
But it's the
going around
opposite
killing
here
children.
too, because like
Yeah,
everybody is kind of normal.
it's just life is weird around them.
I think that's the problem with them trying to make it so like grounded with his backstory is that it kind of has to like dial down the absurdity a little bit, and so that when the absurd things do happen, it feels a little like jarring. And I don't know, it was weird. I I don't know. The whole time I kind of found myself watching the movie, and then like something would happen. I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting, and then it would immediately be followed up with something that was just incredibly boring, and I was just like, do we really like? Nothing happens in this movie, which is
Well,
crazy because a ton of shit happens in the original.
well, I think what happened is they took out all of the really like racist,
Offensive.
homophobic, offensive stuff. And so, but inherently now you take that out, every character that Winston is like killing in this movie is just a general mobster. And as the viewer, it isn't as satisfying because, yeah, mobsters are shitty people. They kill people, but like not like vile human beings that were
They don't even
distributed
show us
throughout the
them kill
first
anyone
one.
though.
No one's killed, no children are killed. Like, bro, they say and do things to just one individual person in that original film that's way worse than anything's done to one person in this one
Yeah,
film. And
literally
I think
the
that's my issue with like the film as a whole.
so we the only person that we see get killed in the first 30 minutes is the reporter dude. But we don't know who he is, and we don't understand well, we kind of understand the context of that scene. But it's the main bad guys, like Kill Squad or whatever. But like the mobster,
And wait, sorry,
that
not to
the
cut you off, but they're all like fucking clowns too, which makes no
yeah,
sense. Like that's another thing is like another just random thing that they put in is like all these henchmen for him are a bunch of clowns that just
with
do wacky, goofy stuff.
the thing that irritated me going back to what you just said is that they're the only ones that are like that. Because again, in the original, all of them were like weird like that, and so it made sense. But in this one, it's just them, and everyone else is like relatively normal. Like all the dudes that work for the actual mob boss, they're all just normal. Like
Yeah,
they're just
it's just
normal
really
dudes.
bizarre. And then the next scene will cut over to like this really cool like I can't think of the type of shot, but it wasn't like a physical set where they built it. Like I'm thinking early on when they first show like the ooze factory, and then you see like this bird that's transformed to show you like
Yeah,
early
what
on what's
it's
gonna happen, what it's gonna do. That it's kind of got like some power that it can mutate some living cell. Like I thought the stuff like that was cool and I wish it like leaned into that more, but it focused so much on trying to be a grounded retelling but still trying to be wacky, and it was just kind of jarring because it wasn't funny, but it also just like wasn't heartfelt and serious enough, and
yeah,
so it didn't do enough of either of what it wanted to be.
pretty much. I think it just needed to lean into the wackiness, and because like you can have a wacky story that's also heartfelt. I mean, that's
But how wacky could you be and be PG-13 with that type of character? With the
it's
type
not
of
PG-13.
wackiness?
It's the movie's
No, I
rated
know,
R.
but they want to make it PG-13.
I don't
That's
think
why
they
they
wanted
made
to
it
make
R.
this movie PG-13.
I refuse to believe they didn't want to make this
They
PG-13.
when
I
they
thought
first
I saw
announced it in
somewhere.
2010, yeah, it was gonna be
Oh, that's what I'm thinking of.
PG-13, but
Okay.
that was under a different team.
Got it,
That
got it,
was
got
before
it.
Legendary even got the rights to the movie. I don't
I,
know. I just none of it works. Like the gore is also not really interesting. It says they use practical effects. It didn't look like that to me for the most part.
well, you could tell, but you could just tell the layers of CG they put over it.
Yeah, and maybe that's what it is. It's just like there's too much layered on top of it. Um, but it's also so like few and far between, and there's 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 no motivation to it. It's just like why is it now so absurdly gory when before, like even when the dude got hit with the harpoon and flew out the window, he barely had any scratches on him. I thought he was gonna be all mangled and shit. And then it just all of a sudden he's like ripping people's guts out of their anus and shit. And I was just like, okay, this is just really it didn't work for me. I thought it was just weird. It felt like it didn't fit the tone that they were going for. And I think that's the main problem is that the tone is just all over the place.
Yeah, no, it didn't. Like going back to like you just made me be reminded of I think it's when like a few of the cronies are doing like that rock band thing at a
Oh yeah, the
festival or
Killer
something.
Nuts. That's what
Yeah,
their
the
name
killer
is.
nuts. And he takes the back of his mop and chops off like the top skull, not the brain, but specifically the
No, I
skull.
think he did get the brain.
No, he did. I don't think he did because behind this is what bothered me. Behind him, well, he's talking to someone else. That guy that he chopped like the head off of, or like half the head off of,
Oh,
is
it's
just
still
like
alive.
is still alive, holding it. And I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
what is going on? This is not the what the movie like the characters are trying to be. So stop trying to make them this because it's not funny and it doesn't work. And that's just like what a lot of this movie is. And for me, I just found it frustrating because I think that's what I enjoyed most about that original is because even though it's like really fucking outlandish, out there, crazy, wacky, it clearly knew what it wanted to be and what it wanted to say about like the environment and how people treat each other in society, and honestly, how the environment treats us as a society. You know, none of that's here. It just turns into I'm
I don't know. Yeah,
dying.
they make some really unsubtle attempts to talk about like the whole big pharma stuff. And when it first started, I was like, "Oh, okay, so we're going with that approach. That's fine. I think that could work." But then again, they never bring it up again. Like literally has nothing to do with anything. And I was just like, okay, why did we waste all that? Like, it's literally just to make us feel bad for the main character, but it's also just so like bare minimum at the same time. I'm just like, okay, I get it. I get what the point is.
I'm just confused, like around the halfway mark after JJ, the Taylor Page woman.
Oh, is that what her name was?
Yeah, the one that's like the whistleblower or whatever
Yeah.
that joins them when she gets shot. I'm just really confused at why, of the four people that mix with the mutated stuff, why she's the only one that doesn't transform into like some horrific looking monster. Like at the end of the movie, I totally, by the way, I'll be honest, I totally forgot they get into like this fucking Power Rangers like demon fight at the end. It's just like so cartoonishly goofy that it just doesn't make sense. It makes sense because of like what's going on in the moment, but with the context of everything in the world and the movies it's trying to mimic, it doesn't make sense, you know? And I'm just sitting here really confused and I'm like, why is he fighting with a mop here? Like, why didn't they just like make him big and like this guy who can pick them up with one hand and just like squeeze their neck and their head explodes? You know, like
Right, well,
that's the type of shit I would have like rather seen than him beating people with like this fucking sorcerer mop. Like,
I don't hate the mop thing. They just don't use it very well, and like the choreography in that fight is not very good. Like, I don't know, most of the fight scenes in this movie kind of suck, and they're not really engaging. And it doesn't help that this dude turns into some weird like goat thing, and then his assistant or whatever, she drinks some of it too, and she becomes like La
that's what I'm
Llorona
saying,
or something. Bro. I don't know. It's all really just, it kind of comes out of nowhere, which that kind of sounds contradictory because there's a lot of stuff in the first one that is kind of random as well, but it just, again, in this one the movie hasn't set any of that up, and so when it does happen so late in the game, you're just kind of like, what the fuck, like why is this what you guys decided to focus on? I don't know. I'm not saying that it can't work. I'm just saying that it could have been done better, because like I feel nothing when I see these two like gearing up to fight. I'm just like, okay, whatever. But
yeah,
if you put two monsters up together to fight, like people will watch that, but it has to be good. It has to offer something new, and them just like, doing this with each other doesn't stimulate
and screaming
my
really
brain.
loud.
Yeah,
don't forget.
Screaming really loud. And then also like there's a part at the end where he gets stabbed by the woman, and then everyone starts freaking out. I'm like, guys, he's fine. He heals. He can't fucking die. And it was I don't know. It was really weird. I think the only part that I kind of enjoyed was how they killed Kevin Bacon, because it was kind of so out there that it kind of became cool.
Yeah.
But they don't do that enough in this movie. It's just, blink and you'll miss it type stuff.
I don't think I've ever had this as a comment towards a film in my entire life, but I think this movie would have benefited more from being like more of a superhero film. Like the
I do as well.
And like, I don't mean that jokingly, but like, I really like the aspect that he became like the hero of Traumaville in that original, and you really saw the town and him connect with one another in a way. Like, even though it's all like jokes and people blowing up with a bunch of cock and asshole jokes in between, it's something I think more meaningful than what this film tries to do, because I don't know if it's because all of the acting is just so over the top in the way that I don't think the first one was, because the acting was just bad in that original. This feels like people are trying to be bad, and I think that kind of takes away from like a nuance innocence to it in that
Yeah.
actual performance that they're trying to mimic that I don't think they can because they just don't know how not to try like that. You
No,
know?
yeah, I
I don't know
agree.
how else to say it.
No, I agree with what you're saying. I'm glad you said that because it's something that I kind of couldn't really put into words. But I do think overacting is worse than bad acting because at least with bad acting you can kind of give them like some benefit of the doubt, be like, oh, they're new or they're not really actors. Just you can turn off that side of your brain and just sit there and like have a good time and like laugh at the movie. But in this one, it's much more detrimental if you can tell that the actors are trying to like act.
Yeah. It it's just really frustrating because they only do like two scenes, and one of the scenes is a straight up ripoff from that original movie of
Which
him just
one?
saving the diner scene.
Oh yeah, I didn't enjoy the diner scene
Even
very
though it
much.
wasn't a diner in the original, I'm pretty sure it was a fast food place. And
Yeah,
I thought it was really funny that they decided to like do a little hint Easter egg at I forgot the blind girl's name in the original that he
yeah.
hooks up with in this one, but it even that relationship felt better than any of the relationships in this movie. And that's the thing is like it's really annoying, but I think they got too into their head that like, oh, it feels weird that a, a disfigured guy is having sex with a woman who can't see him. Like, I think, you know
I
what I
mean,
mean?
yes and no. I understand why they wanted to move away from that because it is kind of like that idea of like she's the object and the hero like wins her. But also at the same time, with how little they develop the relationship, it makes sense that they decided to make him absurdly ugly and disfigured and her just a naive blind woman. Like you understand why when you're watching the movie. Like they did it for a reason. Whereas in this movie, I don't understand the reason why they made him the not stepfather of this kid.
I think there's an ironic funniness to the relationship in the first one
No, yeah,
because the nerdy guy never gets the hot girl, but it's just ironic because he gets uglier, he gets the hot girl. It only just takes her losing her eyesight. Like I like the irony in those small parts in the relationships in that first one that is totally missing in this new one that I kind of miss and you don't realize is there in that first one until you watch this, I
I
think.
think the main thing is that you're not supposed to take it seriously. It's yes, there are things in the first movie that probably not probably that surely haven't aged well. But I don't think, and I think we said this even when we were talking about that movie. Like, I don't think they were necessarily put in there as like they genuinely believed that stuff. I think they were doing it just to make fun of things and people. And at the same time, this movie feels like it's trying to avoid all of that stuff so that you will take it seriously and
Yeah.
feel like, oh, this is a really grounded and realistic story. And it's like it's not. It's not supposed to be that way. You're supposed to just look at it, watch it, and laugh at the stupid things that are going on.
Yeah.
And I think that's the part where I really think this movie missed the point. It's a weird, it's an absurd form of like satire essentially.
But doesn't know what it's trying to be satirical about, I feel. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've said a lot of my thoughts. Do you want to get into final wrap ups?
No, yeah, yeah, we can.
All right, I'll go first. I gave this. I have it. I gave it a wrong star on Letterbox. I wanted to change it, so I'm gonna do that now. But I want to give this a star and a half. Um, I find myself to be just wildly disappointed with this movie, just because I think I do hold that original kind of near and dear to my heart. For even though it's a ridiculously goofy, wacky time. Um, I love Peter Dinklage as an actor, but I just don't think this was the role for him. Um, and no one really seems like they're having fun being in this movie.
No.
This definitely seems like a paycheck movie for many of the people in this. Which, hey,
Hey, listen,
there's no problem for that.
we talked about this just before we got on. Peter Dinklage is only in like the first 30 minutes of the movie, if even that.
And then he just does a bunch of voice acting. So
Yeah, he's good at voice
um,
acting.
he's good. Like that's what I'm saying, bro. He's good at everything. But like Kevin Bacon's kind of underwhelming. There's not enough Elijah Wood, even though I do like what he kind of does in this movie.
I thought he
He's
was going to be the
fun.
main antagonist.
That's what I thought too, based off the photos. He was the first photo of the movie they showed. Like you'd
Exactly.
think
Yeah.
so, right? Like, Jacob Tremblay, get a new manager, bro. Please. Like, you're such a good actor, and I feel like I either see him in big roles in not very good movies, and he's got really small roles in the really memorable movies.
Yeah.
You know? So, Jacob, great actor. Get a new agent, please. But yeah, I give this movie a 1.5 out of 5.
I am giving it a 2 for right now. I'm maybe if we revisit this, I'll give it a lower review, but I don't know. This movie's not the worst movie I've ever seen, but it's also not very good either. So that's why I'm putting it at a 2. Like I feel like there's a worse movie out there.
No, it's got redeemable qualities.
Yeah, there were parts of the movie that I thought, I do think Peter Dinklage is a good actor, and I think they just don't use him very well in the movie, which is crazy. Um, and it's shot kind of well. Like I liked the color grading and the lighting for the most part. Um, trying to think what else. Like I said before, there are some like gory moments that I thought kind of worked, but it doesn't lean into it enough. Like again, the absurdity for me to really kind of be on board with that. Um, and yeah, and I just there were a couple of times that I kind of giggled, but there weren't really any like moments that I thought were like truly funny outside of like the post credit scene. Um, yeah, I don't know.
I didn't even find the post credit scene to be funny, if I'm being honest.
What's that?
I didn't even find the post credit scene to be that funny, to be honest.
I just thought, to me, I thought it was funny that they put that in at the end. Like, I understand the point of it is that it's supposed to be like, oh, movies like these have post credit scenes now. And I think that's the kind of attitude that they should have taken with the rest of the movie, where it is so kind of like by the numbers and kind of like any other, uh, you know, superhero movie essentially. And I think they just didn't poke fun at that enough, and trying to take itself so seriously. And also, it was kind of funny that in while he's making this grilled cheese, in the background, his stepson is just doing these weird fucking dances. I don't know. I thought that was kind of funny, and the movie just didn't. It saved all of that for the post credit scene. I was just like, really? This is where you tried to inject like real humor into the movie. I don't know. It was weird. Yeah, that was my rating. I give it 2. We'll see if it goes lower. All
And
right.
I guess with that said, Leo, what are we watching next week?
Yeah. All right, guys. I mean, it'll definitely be more of a fun time than I think this movie, but I, I wouldn't necessarily say the movies are better. Um, we're gonna be starting our deep dive into the Resident Evil movies, the live action ones with what's her name?
Milia Jokovic.
Yeah. So for the next 3 weeks leading up to the release of Zach Krager's Resident Evil movie, we're going to be taking a look back at all 6 of those movies. I have actually seen these, and they're
I'm
a trip.
shocked by that.
They're a trip. I don't remember why I watched them, but for some reason in high school I just put them on and I watched the entire thing. Some of them are kind of fun. The
Dude,
first one is okay.
I'll say this now. I don't think I've ever said this to you. First two, actually good movies. I genuinely think. I think the second movie is probably my favorite. But as they go on, they progressively get shittier.
No, yeah, yeah.
But I'm excited to talk about them because I'm sure throughout the conversation we'll bring up the new one coming out in September. So, which is why we're doing it. So,
But yeah, so we're gonna break them up into twos. So next week we're gonna be talking about the first two, and then the following week we'll talk about 3 and 4. I don't remember the subtitles, so then the last week we'll talk about 5 and 6. So yeah, stay tuned for that next week. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment. Also, we are on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts. So if you like short form content, be sure to check us out and follow. And yeah, we'll see you.
peace.